Good morning, crime community. I'm here to read out another critique by Edgar Allan Poe. This is called Henry Cockton. Charles O'Malley, Larry Lauroqueur, Valentine Vox, Stanley Thorne, and some other effusions are novels depending for effect upon the gay popularity of Peregrine Pickle. We mean practical joke. To men whose animal spirits are high, whatever may be their mental ability, such works are always acceptable. To the uneducated, to those who read little, to the obtuse in intellect, and those three classes constitute the mass, these books are not only acceptable, but are the only ones which can be called so. We are here to make two divisions, that of the men who can think, but who dislike thinking, and that of men who either have not been presented with the materials for thought or who have no brains with which to work up the material. With these classes of people, Stanley Thorne is a favorite. It not only demands no reflection, but repels it or dissipates it, much as a silver rattle with the wrath of a child. It is not in the latest degree suggestive. Its readers arise from its perusal with the identical ideas of possession at sitting down. Yet during perusal, there has been a tingling physio-mental exhilaration, something like the induced of a cold bath, or a flesh bruise, or a gallop of horseback, a very delightful and very healthful matter in its way. But these things are not letters. Valentine Vox and Charles O'Malley are no more literature than catgut of music. The visible and tangible tricks of the baboon belong no less to the belles lettres than does Harry Lauroqueur. When this gentleman adorns his countenance with lampblack, knocks over an apple woman, or brings about a rent in his pantaloons, we laugh at him when bound up in the volume, just as we would laugh at the adventures of happening before our eyes in the street. But mere incidents, whether curious or comic, whether occurring as described, more incidents are not like books. Neither are they the basis of books, of which the idiosyncrasy is thought in contradistinction from deed. A book without action cannot be, but a book of only such to the extent of its thought, independently of its deed. Thus of algebra, which is or should be defined as a mode of computing with symbols by means of signs, with numbers, as algebra has nothing to do with, although no algebraic computation can proceed without numbers. Yet algebra is not only such to the extent of its analysis, independently of its arithmetic. We do not mean to find fault with the class of performances of which Stanley Thorne is one. Whatever tends to the amusement of man tends to his benefit. Aristotle, the singular assurance, has declared poetry the most philosophical of all writings, defending it principally upon the score. It seems to think that many following him have thought that in the end of all literature should be instruction, a favorite dogma of the school of Wordsworth, but in its truism that the end of our existence is happiness. If so, the end of every separate aim of our existence, of everything connected with our existence, should still be happiness. Therefore, the end of instruction should be happiness. And happiness, what is but the extent of duration of pleasure? Therefore, the end of instruction should be pleasure. But the cant of the lachists would establish the exact converse and make the end of all pleasure instruction. In fact, he who pleases is more important than the fellow man, than he who instructs, since the dulce is alone the utile, and pleasure is the end already attained, which instruction is merely the means of attaining. It will be said that Wordsworth, with Aristotle, has reference to instruction with eternity in view, but either such he in laboring at the sad disadvantage with his works, or at least those of the school, are profoundly to be understood by the few, as it is many who needs stand in the need of salvation. Thus, the moralist parade of measures would be as completely thrown away as those are the devil in Melmoth, which plots and counterplots the 3 octavo volumes of the entrapment of 1 or 2 souls, while in many common devils would have demolished 1 or 2,000. When, therefore, the assert of these practical joke publications are not literature because not thoughtful in any degree, we not must be understood as objecting to the thing in itself, but to its claims upon our attention as critic. Doctor, what is that name? Strings together a number of facts or fancies which, when printed, answer the laudable purpose of amusing a very large, if not a very respectable, number of people. To the proceeding upon the part of the doctor or on the part of the imitator, Mr. Jeremy Stockton, the author of Valentine Vox, who can have no objection whatever. His books do not please us. We will not read them. But still, shall we speak of them seriously as books? Being in no respect works of art, and neither deserve nor are amenable to criticism. Stanley Thorne may be described in brief as a collection rather than as a series. A practical haps and mishaps befalling a young man very badly brought up by his mother. He flogs his father with a codfish and does other similar things. We have no fault to find with him whatever, except that in the end he does not come to the gallows. We have no great fault to find with him, but with Mr. Brockton, his father, much. He is a consummate plagiarist, and in our opinion, nothing more despicable exists. This is not a good incident in his book, of which we cannot point out the paternity with at least a sufficient precision. The open adventures are all in the style of Cyrus Thornton. Bob, following Amelia to disguise, is borrowed from the one of the Smollett of Fielding's novels. There are many of our readers which will be able to say which. The cab driven over the Crescent Trottoir is from Pierce Egan. The swindling tricks of Colonel Somebody at the commencement of the novel is of Captain Filcher afterward are from Pickwood Abroad. The doings at the Madame Pompour's with the description of Isabel are from Escarte or the Salon of Paris, a rich book. The Sons of Glory we have seen somewhere, while not to be tedious, the whole account of Stanley's election from the first conception of the design through the entire canvas, the purchasing of the Independence, the row of the hustings, the chairing, the feast, and the petition is so obviously stolen from 10,000 a year as to be disgusting. Bob and the Old Venerable, what are they but feeble reflections of young and old Weller? The tone of the narration throughout is an absurd echo of Boz. For example, we come again about them, their little accounts of earn. Question is, what do you mean to settle him, or don't you? His colleagues by whom he was backed highly approved of this question and winced and nodded with the view of imitating to each other that in their judgment was that the point? Who so dull as to give Mr. Bogdan any credit for these things that we give the buffoon for the role which he has committed to memory? That's the end of Henry Cockton, which goes on to Charles Dickens, which is very long, so I may read another story at another time and date. If you like and think there's any truth and relevancy to what I'm saying here in relation to ancient English literature, which turned into American literature, where we got our from England, the Round Table, their Constitution, our Constitution, how they merged together. It's kind of an important story, is it not? Who killed our president? Who killed Charlie Kirk? What 9/11 was about? On and on and on and on. I should take a week off from this stuff, but I won't because I'm a citizen journalist. Have a nice day.